I feel guilty, I feel angry, I feel depressed, I feel anxious, lots of horrible emotions and feelings that humans get. I don't feel any of those at the moment. I've just come back from running my dogs in the freezing cold and in the dark. And what I do know is if I didn't take them, I would have felt very guilty. My dogs need to be exercised. I've had a busy day. When I come home, what I've got to do is make sure that my dogs get some exercise. And obviously it's great for me too to get out in the fresh air and get my heart rate up, and we sprint the hills and we just have a great time together. But here's a great question. Why do we feel guilty? Why do we get stressed? Why do we feel angry? Why do we feel anxious? Why are there so many people now on antidepressant medication? Because they're not happy people. And here's something to consider. When you do what you say you're going to do, and that's my definition of discipline, do what you should do when you should do it, even if you don't feel like it. So if you come home late at night like I have, it's dark and freezing cold, you probably don't feel like taking your dogs for a run. But they need to go. So I take them even if I don't feel like it. Now I'm very privileged because I always feel like it. I love the feeling of taking my dogs outside. But if you do what you say you're going to do versus you don't do it, what's the difference in feelings? Is it possible that you can't feel angry, depressed, annoyed, guilty if you make a promise to yourself and you go and do it? If you don't do what you say you're going to do, I'm going to get up and exercise, I'm going to eat healthy food, I'm going to get out of my lousy, stinking, rotten job, I'm in a terrible relationship, I've got to remove myself from it, I'm spending too much money and wasting money, I need to invest money wisely so I can be financially free. If you say you're going to do those things and then you don't do them, how do you feel? I was going to exercise, I didn't. I was going to eat healthy food, but I ate crappy food instead. I was going to get out of my lousy, stinking, rotten job, and here I am 3 months, 3 years, 30 years later, and I'm still doing something I don't like. Is it possible that that makes us feel really crappy? Now, I can't answer that question, and I feel silly asking it because I would never want to live my life like that. I can't imagine, and I'll rephrase. I decided at 13 that I was going to be healthy, fit, and strong for the rest of my life. I was going to have a career and business that I loved. I was going to be financially free. And I would only have respectful, kind, beautiful people in my life. And I have lived my life that way the whole time, and now I'm an old lady. But I share that with you not to impress, but to express that the reason that happened is I saw fat, sick, weak, diseased people, and I saw how horrible they felt and looked and complained and whinged and moaned. I saw people that had a lousy, stinking, rotten job that they hated, and they whinge and moan and complain about having to go to work and how they hated their boss, how they weren't making any money. I didn't want to live my life like that. I saw people that didn't have any money, that were broke and struggling and had to ask the government for money, had to ask their family for money. They were miserable and grumpy, and I didn't want to live my life like that. And I saw people that were in disrespectful relationships. They were in relationships where they weren't loved, they weren't looked after, they weren't respected. I could never understand why they stayed there. I still don't, why people stay in relationships like that. But I didn't want that for my life, so I decided at 13 that I was going to live my life as a healthy, fit, strong human being who had a career or business that I loved. I was going to be financially free and have great people in my life. That was a choice. And if you attach discipline to that, which is doing what you should do when you should do it, so that's what I wanted to do. When do you need to start all of that stuff? As soon as you decide, whenever you've got a goal, you've got to start straight away. I can never understand why people say, I'm going to start on Monday, I'm going to start after my birthday, I'm going to start after the holidays. That's just called procrastination, isn't it? You don't have to wait for anything. The next meal that you eat could be healthy. The next thing that you do could be exercise. The next decision you make could be heading you towards your goals rather than away from your goals. And that's just a great tool. I'd love to share that because it's been very helpful for me. What I'm about to do, is it going to head me towards my goals or away from my goals? What I'm about to eat, is that going to help me feel healthy, fit and strong, or fat, weak and sick? The next exercise I choose to do or don't do, if I don't do it, how will I feel? And that feeling of guilt sometimes is a really powerful thing, because a lot of people make changes because they feel so guilty that they didn't do it. They never want to feel that way again, so then they go do it. I think guilt is a very stressful emotion. If you can use it to power you forward, how awesome. But if you feel guilty about the same thing over and over because you didn't do it, you didn't do it, you didn't do it, you didn't do it, if you're in the habit of not doing it, if you're in the habit of being undisciplined, what do you do now? And I'll share with you, the psychiatrists, psychologists, the brain doctors, they all say the same thing. You can't get rid of a bad habit. You can just exchange it for a better one, or you can exchange it for a good one. So I'm in the habit of taking my dogs out to exercise. I would never miss. But I'm also in the habit of brushing my teeth, having a shower, eating food, going to sleep, wearing clothes. They're just normal parts of life, which is why when people say, Rowie, you exercise every day. Yes, because it's part of my life. I don't like the feeling of not doing. I don't know the feeling of not doing exercise because I never have. Since the age of 13, I haven't missed a day of exercise. But again, that's not to impress. That's to just express that I've also had a shower, brushed my teeth, eaten food, worn clothes, breathed air every day of my life because it's part of my life, which is why I never feel guilty for not exercising because I always do. I never feel guilty about staying in a lousy, stinking, rotten job because I've never had one. I never feel guilty about spending money because my money is planned. That's a beautiful thing about having a budget. When you go shopping, the money that you spend is money that is allocated to shopping so that you can really enjoy the experience. So you don't feel guilty, you don't get stressed. The credit card bill doesn't upset you. I don't have a credit card. I'm sharing that with you because I don't want one. I don't want to owe people anything. You don't have to live your life like me. Of course, everybody gets to choose how they live. But I do get accused on a regular basis of being, you can't be happy all the time. Well, here's my answer to that. Why the hell not? If you are healthy, fit and strong, if you've got a career or business that you love, if you're financially free, secure, wealthy, whatever you want to call it, and if you've only got great people in your inner circle and you know how to deal with the lousy, stinking, rotten, horrible people that are in your outer circle, is it possible that you could be happy every day? I just think it's a beautiful question. Rather than say you can't be happy every day, how about how can I be? What do I need to do today? What's the next thing I need to eat? The next activity I need to take on? The next challenge I need to overcome? What do I need to do next to make sure that the rest of my life I'm healthy, fit and strong, have a career or business that I love, I am financially free and I have great people in my life? They're great questions to ask, but could today be a great day to answer them and to do the stuff required to make them happen? Because I would love everybody, of course, to live your life to the max. Super duper doo, how are you? Living my life to the max.